Hi, my name is Diane Ladd. I've been following a strict carnivore diet for 14 months now. In thinking back to when I began the carnivore diet, I didn't have all the information, although I did look at a lot of videos from the experts, but there's a lot of conflicting information. Some people say, do it this way. Some people say, do it that way. So if I were starting again, I would first assess my current diet and ask, how many carbohydrates am I currently eating? To do that, you may have to go on an app, and I have an app here that I really like. I have no affiliation with them at all, but I really think that it's one of the best ones. It's called Carb Manager, and it's free. Don't pay for it. There is a free version of it, and they'll ask you, do you want to pay for it? Just say no. No need to pay for it. So you can go on that app, and you could punch in what you are currently eating. So if you're currently eating eggs in the morning, it'll say 1 large egg, punch it in, and it'll tell you how many carbs. There's just like a trace, I wouldn't even count it, carbohydrates, how much fat you're eating, and how many grams of protein you're eating. So it's going by grams, okay? So you could do that with any food. If you're eating a carbohydrate-based diet, a fat-based diet, a sugar-based diet, whatever your diet is, this app will record how many carbohydrates you're eating. That's where you should begin. Always begin where you are. So after you figure that out, and again, don't guess this. Measure. If you're eating oatmeal in the morning, measure half a cup of oatmeal, half a banana. Measure what you're currently eating without changing it. You have to know where you are beginning. That to me is the most important piece of information that you can have. Where are you starting? First, measure your food. If you've been following a ketogenic diet, so that means low carbohydrate, high fat, they typically say below 20 grams of carbohydrates, which is really not a lot at all. That's one category. If you're having less than or equal to 100 carbohydrates, I would call that moderate carbohydrate consumption. Okay, so that's the second level. If you're having greater than or equal to 101 grams of carbohydrates or over, that would be high carbohydrate. And if you have no idea, like if you're just mostly eating carbohydrates, hardly eating any protein or fat, or you don't know what the heck you're eating, that would be very high carbohydrate. Probably. That's probably where you're starting. So those, to me, are the 4 categories. Why do you need to know this? Well, if you start a carnivore diet, boom, day 1, just eating fatty meat, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, if you begin just doing that from, I would call it a standard American diet or a high or a very high carbohydrate content diet, you're going to experience symptoms of what they call the keto flu. What is that? Your body releases a lot of water, shape or form. Well, you might dehydrate, so just make sure you drink a lot of water and add some electrolytes. But you can do that. You can go from standard American high carbohydrate diet to carnivore. Just know it's going to be a tough transition. It doesn't matter how healthy you are, how healthy the carbohydrates are, you're going to feel symptoms. So what I recommend is that you lower the carbohydrates. Take a few weeks to do this. It's not like a simple solution. It's going to take a little bit of math. It's going to take a little bit of weighing and measuring. But you know what? Once you do it, you'll never have to weigh and, well, maybe you'll weigh, but you're not going to count calories ever again, and you're not going to count carbs because you're not going to be eating any carbs. This beginning part might be a little complicated, but I think it's worth it because it'll make you feel a lot better, and it's going to make transitioning into the carnivore diet a lot easier for your system. What I would do: measure my carbohydrates. If I am eating a primarily heavy carb diet, we're talking hundreds of grams of carbs, and you know what? It's not that hard to do. If you're eating dessert, if you're eating fruit, if you're eating, I don't know, what are you eating? If you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, they're going to tally up. So what I would do is I would measure it. If you're super high, very high carbohydrate, I would measure it for a couple of days, and then I would look at the food and I would cut back on the carbs. So in other words, if you're eating 300 carbs a day, again, not hard to do. Standard American diet, if you're eating the typical snack foods, it's going to happen. I would lower it by 100, then lower it by another 100, then lower it by another 100, all the while replacing the carbohydrate load with protein foods. So in other words, if you're eating, I'll just give you an example, toast and, without butter, and you're eating oatmeal or pancakes or any of these high carby breakfasts, cut down a little on the carbs, add an egg, right? So you're going to think about cutting the carbs out, lowering them by a little bit, and adding a little protein in. If you're having a huge salad with rice and, pita bread and, why don't you cut the piece of pita bread out and add a grilled chicken? So again, you're replacing the carbohydrate for a protein, and then maybe adding, instead of going with your low-fat salad dressing, do a high-fat salad dressing with olive oil. Olive oil is always a better choice. So as we go through this, you're going to think about adding protein and healthy fats, which we can talk about later, not in this video. I'll talk about healthy fats in another video. And cutting back on those carbohydrates. If you are eating carbohydrates that come in a box, a bag with barcodes, cut those out immediately. Those are super, super, super unhealthy. If you've got a bag of chips, cookies, whatever, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. For now, replace them with whole foods, possibly a sweet potato, possibly an apple, an orange, like a whole food, rather than food that comes in bags and boxes with barcodes. Get rid of them, right? So we're cleaning up the diet little by little so that you're not going to feel like you have the keto flu. So that's going from very high, then you'll go to high, right? So high, I talk about over 100 grams of carbs. And again, you've got to be counting these in order to know where you are. When you feel comfortable, just lower the carbs little by little by little until you get under 100 grams of carbohydrates, reducing the carbs, adding the fat and the protein. Eventually, you'll be doing a low carbohydrate diet, and I consider this 20 grams of carbs or lower. That's pretty low, and again, going to that app, you'll be able to see which foods are high in carbohydrates, which foods are moderate, and which ones are low. This is where the work starts. When you've been low carb for 1 to 2 weeks, you'll be ready to start the carnivore diet. So that's where I was. When I started the carnivore diet, I was doing keto for quite a while. I was experiencing a little bit of the health benefits from following a keto diet. Not like this, ladies and gentlemen. Not like the carnivore diet. That's why I just gave up the side salad. I gave up the side of broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, whatever I just gave it up just to see what would happen to my body when I did that. I made a decision to cut the side salad, to give up the Brussels sprouts. And a lot of you are saying, ew, I loved Brussels sprouts. I was eating 9 vegetables a day. I wasn't eating any fruit. When you finally give up the side salad, that's when it's day 1. That's when you count it as day 1 on the carnivore diet. Well, carnivore is keto, but carnivore is advanced keto. It's giving up that last side salad and making a decision to only eat beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And to do it for a time span that would be efficient in measuring it. For me, I did it for 30 days. Some people will do it for 90 days, but I didn't want to commit to 90 days. I just wanted to commit to 30 days. So that's what I did. I committed to 30 days. I can tell you that I have reversed nearly 100% of all symptoms of multiple sclerosis, and that is the truth. I can tell you that. But you have to experience this for yourself in order to know what benefit you have for this. So how do you follow the carnivore diet? It's very, very simple. You eat beef, butter, bacon, eggs. If it's from animals, you eat it. If it's from plants, you don't eat it. You don't eat the avocado. Even though the avocado is lower in carbohydrates, it still doesn't come from an animal, so it can't be on the carnivore diet, right? You can eat butter because butter comes from an animal. So going through your diet and just questioning everything that's on your plate and saying, where did this food come from? If it has too many ingredients and you can't pronounce them and you don't know where they came from, chances are it's a chemical that is derived from a plant. So that's why I say the bags and the boxes with barcodes. Chances are it's not carnivore. If you are going through your grocery store, know that the middle of your grocery store, where the boxes and the bags live, it's not going to be what you need. It's not going to be what you want. Let me go through a typical day of what I eat. And it varies day to day. In the morning, I would have 3 to 4 eggs, or maybe 3 eggs and a piece of bacon or 2. That's usually my go-to. Or I scramble some ground beef, add a couple of eggs. So how much ground beef? 1/4 pound to 1/2 pound, depending on how hungry I am, depending if I'm doing 2 or 3. But I would say start with 1/4 pound of ground beef or 1/4 pound of patty and add 3 eggs to it. Add a piece of bacon to it. For lunch, I would probably have some ground beef again, or hamburg patty, or leftover chicken. If I have chicken, I add some butter because chicken is lower fat. You have to think about the keto diet, the carnivore diet, as a high-fat, moderate protein diet. It's not a high-protein diet. So you always want to be adding some fat, which I add tallow, I add bacon fat, I add bacon, I add chicken skin. So you always have the chicken thigh with the skin on it. So that ups your fat. And for dinner, my husband and I, he follows this with me. I usually will make a couple of steaks, a ribeye steak with all the nice marbling and all the fat on the edges, and you eat that. And you can add a little tablespoon or 2 of butter to the top of it, and it's delicious. A little bit of animal protein, whether it's chicken, whether it's hamburger, bacon, venison, bison, pork, have that. Maybe a side of scrambled eggs. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Eat when you're hungry. Stop eating when you're full. And I would recommend to try the discipline of eating 3 times a day. If you want to eat more than 3 times a day, what may be happening is either you're including something with sugar and carbohydrates inadvertently, or you're not eating enough at your meals. So just eat a little bit more. Really focus on the ingredients. Do not add sauces. Do not add any seasonings at first. This is an elimination diet. We're eliminating everything that may be causing us problems at this point. I'm not saying you can't add it back, but just eliminate it for now just to see how you do. So, if you usually use like garlic powder, garlic, onions, all those things that I used to use in all of my cooking. I don't think I ever cooked meat without onions and garlic. But now I don't use them at all. I just use salt. I have healed nearly 100% of the symptoms that I used to have for multiple sclerosis in eliminating my diet and bringing the ingredients really, 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 really down. That's how I did it. I hope this helps. That's how I'd begin. If I were really high carbohydrate, limiting the carbohydrates to 100 or under, maybe leaving it there for a week, a few days, however fast you want to go. This is up to you. Using whole carbohydrate foods rather than things that are in bags and boxes with barcodes. Things that you can recognize, things that you can pronounce, until you get to 20 or below. Stay there for a week, couple of days, however long you want to do it. This is you. You do you. Then, when you feel you're ready, you need to just do it. Just like the Nike commercial, just do it. Just get rid of the side salad, get rid of the Brussels sprouts, get rid of all of it, and simplify your life by just eating fatty meat. Meat and fat. Animal protein. Good luck with this. I'm very excited for you, and I want to hear how you're doing with this, and I want to hear how you have done with this. How did you start the carnivore diet? How did you do it? Did you just jump in with 2 feet and get some keto flu and, just white knuckle your way through it? Or did you lower it little by little by little, like I'm suggesting here? So if you like this video, please subscribe. I will be sure to make more videos like this one. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. I always answer my questions. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.